Most people never discover how strong they really are, not because they are weak, but because they stop when their mind tells them to stop. In a small town, there lived a young man named Ethan, quiet, hardworking, but always doubting himself. Whenever life became difficult, he would say the same thing. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. One day, his uncle, a retired army trainer, invited him to the training ground. There was nothing special there, just open land, dust, and a thick rope tied between two heavy wooden posts. The uncle pointed at the rope and said, "Pull it as hard as you can." Ethan wrapped his hands around the rope and pulled. His arms tightened. His face turned red. After a few seconds, he let go and shook his head. I told you, he said, breathing heavily. I'm not strong enough. His uncle didn't argue. He only smiled and said quietly, Rest for a minute, then pull again. Ethan rested, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and pulled again. This time he lasted a little longer, but once more, he stopped. I've reached my limit, Ethan said. His uncle walked closer and looked him in the eyes. No, he replied softly. You've only reached the limit your mind is comfortable with. Ethan didn't understand what that meant, but he was about to. Ethan looked at the rope again. It hadn't moved. It hadn't changed. Only he had stopped. His uncle tightened the knot around the wooden post and said, Close your eyes for a moment. Ethan did. Now, the uncle continued, Tell me what your body is saying. Ethan thought for a second. My arms are tired. My chest is burning. My hands hurt. And what is your mind saying? His uncle asked. That I should stop. That I've done enough. The uncle nodded. That voice is not your weakness. That voice is your safety system. It exists to protect you, not to test you. He then placed his hand on Ethan's shoulder and said, But today, we are not here to be safe. We are here to learn how much you actually have left when you think you have nothing. Ethan opened his eyes. The rope looked the same, but now something inside him felt challenged. Pull again, the uncle said, but this time, don't stop when it hurts. Stop when you truly can't move your arms. Ethan hesitated, fear mixed with doubt. He wrapped his hands around the rope once more and pulled. His muscles screamed. His breathing became heavy. Every part of him begged to release. The familiar thought returned. This is it. This is the limit. But he remembered his uncle's words, so he didn't let go. 5 seconds passed, then 10. Something strange happened. The pain didn't disappear, but it stopped growing. And in that moment, Ethan realized something shocking. The point where he usually stopped was only the beginning. His body still had strength. It was his mind that had been quitting early all along. When he finally released the rope and fell back onto the ground, his arms shaking, his uncle smiled. Now you're starting to meet the real you, he said. And Ethan, breathing hard, knew this wasn't just about a rope anymore. Ethan sat on the ground, staring at his hands. They were trembling, but they were still his. Still working, still strong. He had always believed that shaking meant failure, that pain meant the end. But now he realized something different. Shaking meant effort. Pain meant growth. His uncle tied a small mark on the rope and said, This is where you stopped the first time. Then he tied another mark, slightly farther, and said, This is where you stopped the second time. The distance between the two was small, but real. Your strength didn't suddenly appear, his uncle said. It was always there. You just never asked for it. Ethan stood up again, slower now, more thoughtful. He wrapped the rope around his hands once more. This time he didn't rush. He focused on his breathing, on the feeling in his muscles, on staying present when discomfort came. And it did come. The burning, the tightness, the voice in his head whispering, Stop. This is enough. But now he recognized that voice. It wasn't truth. It was habit. So he stayed, second by second, not fighting the pain, not fearing it, just moving through it. And then something quietly powerful happened. The rope shifted. Just a little. Not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough for Ethan to feel it. His eyes widened. The rope hadn't moved before. It moved now. Not because he became stronger in 1 minute, but because he refused to quit at the same point. He let go and laughed softly, almost in disbelief. "I didn't know I could do that," he said. His uncle replied, "You could always do that. You just never stayed long enough to find out." Ethan looked at the rope again. It was no longer an obstacle. It was a mirror. Ethan stood there quietly, looking at the rope as if it was something completely different now. It hadn't become lighter. It hadn't become weaker. He had, or rather, he had finally realized how strong he already was. His uncle walked beside him and said, "This is how life works too. Most people stop not because they're empty, but because their mind tells them they are." Ethan thought about all the times he had given up early, when studies felt hard, when work felt overwhelming, when problems felt too heavy. He had always said, "I've reached my limit." But today had shown him something powerful. The limit he believed in was only a warning, not the end. It was his mind trying to keep him comfortable, not capable. His uncle untied the rope and said, "Every challenge in your life is like this rope. It won't move at first. It will hurt. It will test you. And your mind will beg you to stop. But if you hold on a little longer than you ever have before, you'll discover strength you didn't know existed." Ethan nodded slowly. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel suddenly fearless. But he felt something better. Confidence. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that says, "I can handle more than I think." As they walked away, Ethan looked back once more at the training ground. The rope was still there. But now, whenever life whispered, "You can't," he would remember the day he learned the truth. He was never weak. He had just never stayed long enough to meet his real strength.